What's up, you guys? David here, and today I'm addressing this topic once again. A lot of people really didn't like my last video I did on BDSM, which shows me how many people are actually in favor of it and how many people think that this is an actual helpful thing. I received like so much hate, insults, just because I'm speaking the truth about BDSM. Apparently to some people, I didn't use enough proof in my last video to prove that BDSM is harmful, even though for me, I thought I did. So in this video, I'm going to pretty much dive into the origin of BDSM, where it comes from. That's what I'm gonna talk about, where it comes from, how it's dehumanizing, how it's degrading, how it's abusive, and I'm going to show you people that as a Christian, I'm gonna show you how ungodly it is as well. For those people who are Christians that support BDSM, I just want you people to know that you're lost. After this video, if you still support BDSM as a Christian, if you support it, you are lost. If you don't try to seek help, if you don't try to heal that part of you and you continue to indulge in it, even after giving the truth about it, even after knowing how damaging it is, and you still indulge in it and you still support it with no kind of conviction, with no kind of restraint, then you are lost. To be honest, I can't even say that you're after God's heart. I can't even say that, because if you're a Christian, you're choosing your flesh or what you want over what God wants. And for the people who are not even Christian, I'm talking to you to help you become a better version of yourself, to get you closer to the truth, for you to realize what the truth is. This video is not gonna be about different religions or whatever. This is gonna be about how BDSM is dangerous to everyone, and that's whether you're a Christian or not. This is damaging in general. And yes, I'm talking about exclusively BDSM. People on Reddit and on other platforms were saying, like, how come you're only talking about how BDSM is toxic and no other sexual practice? The reason that is because I already covered what I think about casual sex, about sex outside of marriage. I've covered that in other videos, like why is sex meaningless? You could check those out if you want as well. I've already covered that. Now I'm covering this because this, people are actually supporting and trying to normalize it. So I'm trying to show you how this particular sexual act is abnormal and unnatural. That's what I'm gonna show in this video today. For the people who are wondering how BDSM is degrading, because some people had a confusion there how it's degrading. They believe it's all about role playing, it's all about acting, pretending, it's all about fun. But the terms usually used during BDSM role play is servant, mistress, slave, pet, slut, amongst many other degrading labels, I should say. If you have to call a person these particular degrading names in order for them to become aroused, there's a problem. If you find a desire in somebody treating you less than you are, don't you think that there is some type of distortion within yourself that causes you to have arousal off of somebody putting you down? And I think it's pretty self-explanatory how this is degrading, whether or not it's pretend. Let's dive in deeper into the world of BDSM. I researched its origin so all of us could figure out whether this is a perversion or actual love. There's an article I found from ranker.com, that's a source. There's an article I found written by Melissa Sator, or Sator, however she likes to pronounce it, that explains the origins of BDSM. And today I'm going to dissect and break down this article explaining why this is not love, but actually the exact opposite. Let's start with the introduction of the article. BDSM, a mashup acronym for bondage and discipline and dominance and submission and sadism and masochism, is the kinky stuff you do behind closed doors. But did you ever wonder where it got its start? The history of this sexual practice is complicated, combining wild positions, whips and chains, pain and pleasure, and power relationships, and has been around as long as intercourse itself. So I want to point out one thing that I seen. The first word when it came to describing these sexual acts is wild. Even though they were talking about wild positions, the first word they said when it came to describing it is wild. And we all know what wild means. I also want to point out that it includes the use of whips and chains. These particular items are mostly associated with negative things such as slavery, which is interesting because we're talking about people who don't have any control over themselves. So in a way, I see it as them being a slave to their desires. I also want to point out that it said it includes pain and pleasure and power relationships. The one thing I don't see is love. Now, let's just see the Bible's view of a relationship just so you can see somewhat of a contrast. It says in Genesis 2:23 through 24, it says, "Then the man said, 'This at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh.'" To become one flesh means that you are now united with each other. You care for each other as you will care for yourself. You love each other as you love yourself. When the word "my" becomes ours, where there is order and respect between the two, that's a relationship. You can see each other as equal, as one, rather than degrading one, putting one down, and praising yourself, or vice versa. You can see the difference between a BDSM relationship and God's definition is there's no love in a BDSM relationship, but it's more lust and pleasure than there is anything. But let's continue with the article. This type of role playing that can include dominance and submission is about more than just intercourse. However, its origins come out of cultural, personal, and erotic preferences converging. With the written word and artistic rendering, sexual desires and practices found representation and expression, offering a voice to participants, comfort to adherents, and even a sense of refuge to people seeking to understand. Over time, this all came together to form the modern sexual subculture we know now. So, I've seen the words erotic, I've seen the words sexual desires and practices, but I still have yet to see the word love to refer to this subculture. But we can continue. It says in Mesopotamia, the fertility goddess Inanna would whip her subjects so they would become aroused. She adorned herself in jewels, riled the people into a dance of sexual frenzy, and cracked her whip until they started having intercourse. In Greek art, flagellation was common. The Greek biographer turned Roman Plutarch wrote about Spartan whipping competition. The boys in Sparta were lashed with whips during the entire day at the altar of Artemis or Thea, frequently to the point of expiration. And they bravely endured this, cheerful and proud, vying with one another for the supremacy as to which one of them could endure being beaten for the longer time and the greater number of blows. And the one who was victorious was held in special repute. Firstly, what I would like to say is if there's any Christians watching this, if you indulge in BDSM, this should be proof enough that you shouldn't be, because this is where it comes from. This is a clear representation of sexual immorality. It even says in Galatians 5:19 through 21, "Now the works of the flesh are evident: sexual immorality, impurity, sensuality, idolatry, sorcery, enmity, strife, jealousy, fits of anger, rivalries, dissensions, divisions, envy, drunkenness, orgies, and things like these. I warn you, as I warned you before, that those who do such things will not inherit the kingdom of God." And this is obviously a distortion from the way sex is supposed to be. People sometimes refer to natural sex as vanilla sex, which basically means it's boring, it's dull. But I actually searched up the opposite of what vanilla would be. I seen that abnormal was one of the words. Now the only reason these people can't find regular sex enjoyable is because there's something irregular about them. Plenty of people these days do things that are abnormal for money, attention, pleasure, and even power. So it actually doesn't surprise me that BDSM is a thing. It just surprises me how many people are partaking in these practices and don't see the abnormality in it. Also, when I looked up the word perverted, the definition is sexually abnormal and unacceptable practices or tendencies. Now, if that's not enough proof that these practices are not normal, then I don't know what is. The thing is, if you are practicing this, it's definitely not too late to change. And if you are a Christian, you can still be forgiven even after participating in this. I'm not here to put anyone down. I'm here to show you the truth so that you can become one step closer into becoming a better version of yourself. Because although people don't agree with me on everything, I still love you as a fellow human being. But just in case that's not enough information, I would like to show you what a BDSM relationship looks like.
La dinamica 24/7 o comunque sia dom sub ho iniziato io a proporla, quanto più perché non riesco a vivere la relazione coppia con i toni vaniglia.
Io sono Nancy, ho 23 anni e sono la submissive di Jack. Allora, Jack è un tipo molto serio. Vabbè, è un tipo... è veramente una persona, come dire... non è una persona molto paziente, ecco. Non è una delle sue qualità.
L'interesse per il BDSM fondamentalmente, quantomeno in me, è nato a 16 anni circa. Non sono bravo con coccole o cose simili, quindi mi è più facile fare una carezza dopo che magari ho dato un ceffone, che non differenza. Ho iniziato né più nemmeno che così, in 3 anni di relazione. Lei adora questa foto?
Sì.
L'abbiamo fatto dopo che era stata abbondantemente massacrata di botte e quindi era la persona più felice sulla faccia della terra.
E mi ha regalato questo, il collare che porto ogni giorno, che è il mio collare 24/7. Da lì abbiamo deciso di rendere la cosa proprio ufficiale, ovvero sarebbe stato un 24/7, proprio 24/7.
As you can see, it doesn't look like an equal relationship. She's more of a slave or a pet, which is very dehumanizing and degrading in every way. Imagine that being your mother, sister, or daughter. Or even imagine that being your son. Or even imagine a son that treats women like this. And in some cases, a woman that treats a man like this. If I'm being completely honest, it hurts to see that in this world, some people think this is love. The way he uses her is like a tool to live out his sexual fantasy. And she's just under this spell of believing that her purpose is to be his sexual object. It's actually more saddening than anything else. Let's see what a godly relationship looks like, and I just want you to see the difference in the energy and body language, and also the mentality of how they view relationships.
What me and Leah found, like when we were long distance dating and when we started interacting with each other, one of the things that we said from the beginning is we want to be intentional with our relationship. That was like, and being intentional was one of our main goals. And what we realized is in the absence of being able to be together physically, that emotional sense was heightened a lot, right? Where it's like very much so tempting to be very like affirming or flirtatious or, you know, having conversations that are not God honoring, but just more so feeding the emotional part of you, right?
Conversations that just feel good.
Right, conversations that just feel good, right?
Tell me why you love me, baby.
Right, you know what I'm saying? Like even to tell somebody, I miss you, over and over and again, like that kind of like leads you down a road of a certain path of being able to just say, you know, just being happy to be able to talk to you now, or I want to see you so bad. Like,
one thing you would always say is that emotional really leads into like the sexual.
Right, you know what I'm saying? Because it can feel very like innocent. It can feel very romantic. It can feel very affirming. It can feel very, you know, romance, rom-com, whatever you want to talk about. And it's like, it feels good at the same time. It's good to be missing somebody, have somebody who misses you. But I think that's a huge danger in long distance relationships, right? Because, you know, you don't lustful. Get that, right? And it's very easy to like somebody and love somebody that you're not in constant interaction with, right? You just have these highlights. That 30-minute, 45-minute phone call yesterday or 2 days ago was great. Can't wait to see you again, right? Mm-hmm. And so I would say, you know, if you want to, you know, honor God in a long distance relationship, use the advantage that you have with some of those initial boundaries and make that as a way to move forward.
Now, just by the look, you can see how different the love is in both videos. Now with all this I have shown you, with the sources I've used, if there's anyone who tells me that BDSM is healthy at this point, it's simply a rejection of the truth. People just want to feed their desires of the flesh rather than the love of their spirit. If you're wondering who BDSM is unacceptable for, it's God. And it's damaging to you as well. I feel like I've definitely dived enough into the world of BDSM. To be honest, I don't think I can see too much of it because it's disgusting to me. And I hate seeing a person be treated like that or mind controlled like that. Somebody treated like they're not on your level. Somebody that you're just literally walking all over. I hate seeing a person being treated like they're nothing but a tool. And I don't like seeing people manipulated or mind controlled into believing that that's what they were made to be. What I saw in the video of the BDSM relationship, what I saw wasn't happiness. What I saw was victims. Victims of emotional, mental, and physical abuse. I saw someone who's lost so much control over their life and their purpose that now they are officially a slave of their own desires. Hopefully, this wakes up some people out there. I love you all. God bless you all. Bye.
This makes me sad.